Melissa Maresca. Hi Chris, I'm a huge fan of yours from the very beginning. It's a well-known fact that the Church of Scientology is vehemently opposed to psychiatry and pharmaceuticals. It's also known that Bob Duggan is one of its billionaire supporters, giving huge donations. Mr. Duggan's wealth comes from his Pharma company and the discovery of a drug to treat chronic lymphocytic leukemia. First question, why would a Scientologist work to discover a cure for cancer of any type, since according to Hubbard's scriptures, cancer is caused by a second dynamic or sexual upset? Obviously, cancer can only be cured by the practice of Scientology. Second, how is it that the church justifies and accepts the gigantic donations given to them with money made from the enemy? Do they think it's a secret? Seems like competing forces. This is a great question because it goes right to the heart of the hypocrisy of Scientology and really points up what my point has been all along, that it is a money-making scam. The God that David Miscavige worships is money, and the Church of Scientology has been directed onto in that direction for as long as he's been in charge of it. So when you have somebody like Bob Duggan who wants to be a Scientologist, and he makes a great deal of money through any means, then the church is going to take it, right? Very, very rarely will the Church of Scientology turn down money. There have been a couple cases of it where the person who is giving them the money is somebody who is so weird or strange or unusual or whatever that the church just goes, yeah, no, you're just too weird for us. And so you can understand why that might be a pretty rare circumstance. But in terms of, as far as Bob Duggan goes, there's so much money there that, you know, Miscavige and Scientology regs and people who in the organization are going to have a real hard time turning that money down. Now, there's another, and the way they'll justify it is this, okay? Because you're right, Hubbard said that cancer comes from second dynamic activities or some kind of mental aberration. So he basically said in a number of places that it's psychosomatic in nature. Now, Hubbard didn't actually say that all illnesses are psychosomatic in nature. In Dianetics, he talks about, like, I don't know, 80% of them or something. I mean, he's making big claims. You know, it's all nonsense anyway, but it was something like that. Later, he said that all illness in greater or lesser degree stems from being PTS, meaning you're connected to a suppressive person. So psychosomatic, not necessarily, if you're going to split hairs, no, not exactly the same thing. So Scientologists could justify taking money from Bob Duggan because they could think, since it's kind of a gray area, that the cancer or, you know, whatever it is that Duggan's drugs address could be non-psychosomatic in nature. You know, it's not that all illnesses are from your reactive mind, okay? So, you know, people can still get colds and things like that. What Hubbard said later after Dianetics was that the PTSness, the connection to a suppressive person, predisposes a person to illness. It makes their body weaker. He implied that the systems of the body are not as functional. You know, the immune system kind of isn't as strong, and so the person gets sick. Excuse me. And this might be some re-stimulation from past experiences and valid actual illnesses. Okay, and this is kind of how Scientologists deal with justifying why OTs get cancer and get sick and die, and you know, they can just kind of, it's all a matter of cognitive dissonance. It's not a black and white sort of thing. And when you're dealing with how people think and how they justify things, I think anybody knows that you can go to some pretty extreme limits to justify almost anything. And that's what goes on with people like Bob Duggan. Now, in terms of the hypocrisy of Duggan working for Big Pharma and then taking money from Big Pharma, another thing that they will say to themselves, the Scientologists, in taking that money is, better that money comes to us than it goes out to wherever else it would go, improving psychiatry or reinvesting in big pharma or or spending money on things. It's better that Duggan's money comes to us where we can, use it for good and clear the planet and save the world. So again, this is just another example of how they'll go through all these mental gymnastics to justify it. But in the end, it's really just about the Benjamins.